Hi there. Welcome to this episode of the podcast Top SCR Nuggets. My name is Tushar Jory, and I'm the proud owner of this growing LinkedIn community, which is dedicated in helping you clearing your GARP SCR exam. In this episode, I reached out to one of our LinkedIn community member. Her name is Riddhi Dharod. Riddhi is based in Mumbai, and she is a sustainability professional. During the discussion with Riddhi, I had asked her as to what is her secret preparation strategy that she used for clearing her GRPSCR exam in the first go. Riddhi was very forthcoming in supporting the community members and sharing her experiences. During the discussion, she not only detailed about her preparation strategy, but she also shared the details about her timetable that she had prepared, the notes that she had prepared, how did she actually practice, and how did she prepare herself for the actual exam. When you listen to this episode, I'm sure towards the end, you will be able to pick up a lot of tools and techniques that will help you clearing your exam and most probably in the first go. Are you excited to listen to what Reddy has to say? Let's then go and see as to what she has to share. Hi, Riddhi. Very warm welcome to this episode of podcast, and thank you for sparing time for this episode. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this podcast will pick up a lot of important information, which will help them in the preparation for their exam, for the GARPSCR exam. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you. So thank you again. So to get started, Riddhi, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling okay.
Right, and
You are going towards the nervous. I don't know.
there's nothing to be nervous about. So, Riddhi, and are you excited about this podcast?
Yeah, I am.
Good, good. All right. So, Riddhi, to get started, maybe if you can give a little background about your work experience and where are you from? So, if you can cover those points, and then we can move further from that point onwards.
Hi everyone. Hi Tushar. I'm Riddhi Dharod. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai in India, and I've done my bachelor's in commerce, and my master's was MBA in sustainability management. And post that, I have had 2 years of experience in ESG, particularly ESG rating.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've always been attracted towards sustainability and ESG as a not ESG as a whole, but environment. And my finance background helped me in um, tapering towards in SCR towards sustainable finance and everything.
Perfect. And coming to GRPSCR, how did you hear about the certification, Riddhi?
Okay, so basically, I was going through LinkedIn, and on one of the posts, I read about SCR and bunch of other certification courses.
Right.
So the post was about how these are like upcoming and how different companies are now seeking this along with MBA or more or less CA, CFA. So mostly CFA and SCR or some other courses that were there. And I had a discussion with my mentor in my office, and he had also done like he cleared SCR, and he told me that is like the closest, like that's the course that's closest to my background and my work that I'm doing. It actually turned out that while I was reading, I was studying about SCR. I just felt like I'm doing this during my daytime in my office.
Right.
And
Okay.
I'm studying about this, yeah, and I'm studying about this at night. It
Right.
was very similar, but yeah, there
Right.
was a bit of gap as well,
Okay.
which SCR covered.
And what you mentioned that you came across a lot of or you read about multiple certification. What or what made you choose GRP SCR above the other certificates, and why did or why did you, choose GRP SCR specifically?
So one of the things was the relevance of the course.
Mm-hmm.
It's a field, it's in sustainable finance and climate risk.
Okay.
That's a field that I want to go. That's an upcoming field. Some part of which I've already covered in terms
Mm-hmm.
of my education and my work experience, and
Right.
some in, I want to go in that direction.
Right.
The other was interest as well.
Okay.
Since like let's say other one of the other courses that I had heard was about LCA. So there's LCA certification. I think there are 3 levels or something.
Okay.
So that is something if you are core into sustainability only, not into finance, then
Right.
you can go there. If you
Mm-hmm.
have done projects on LCA and if you have a proper environmental degree in that, so you can go into LCA. If you have
Okay.
a finance degree, you can go into SCR. So that was a little bit calculation that I made.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and just to get an edge in my career as well.
Indeed. Right. All right. So I think to go a little deeper into your preparation and your, how you started preparing for this exam. To start with, Riddhi, was this your first attempt that
Yeah,
you?
this is my first attempt.
It's really commendable to really clear the exam. I think I
Thank you
believe
so
you
much.
you cleared the exam in October 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. So it's really commendable to do that on the first attempt, especially when they say that it's like there's a 50% chance of passing the examination. So, Riddhi, when you probably would have heard about or read about there's a 50% chance of clearing this exam, were you scared or were you okay or what
Yeah,
really went through your
no,
mind?
I was a little concerned for sure because I don't know. 50% is a very vague number. It also
Right.
depends on who all are, what
Right.
is the pool of the students who are, the aspirants who are there, the number, the
Right.
type, and everything. But this was something I had learned from my brother as well. So he's cleared CFA, and he told
Okay.
me that it's just you have the material, you know your caliber, you just study
Hmm.
and you attempt, and
Right.
then you go from there. You don't need to go into the external variables which you cannot really control.
True.
So that thing came to my mind.
Good.
But
Good.
yeah, I was a little concerned.
Yeah. Okay. But then you decided to take it on and then prepare
Yeah,
yourself, and yeah, that's good. So, Riddhi, considering it was an October 2023 exam,
yeah.
when did you really started? When did you register for the exam? And
I yeah.
yeah,
I
and
registered.
yeah, go ahead.
So I registered in June, and from like since then I started my preparations as well.
Okay.
You need yeah. So the main thing is the GARP material that they provide,
Okay.
and I was actually trying to figure out to understand what syllabus covers and all. So I was trying to figure out if I can get the book of the previous attempt or 22's attempt
Yeah.
to even start. But later on, I got to know that the syllabus changes and everything happens. So you have to register and you have to
Correct.
study there.
Yeah. So you'll have to stick to the current year's curriculum and the book that they provide because
Yeah.
the course curriculum changes every year, 1st of December. Yeah. Okay. And what was when you started studying, what was your high level strategy as to did you prepare any schedule? Um, uh, how did you what was your method of preparing for this particular examination?
So the main thing was consistency.
Yeah.
Since I was also during daytime, I had office, and
Mm,
thankfully, uh, my manager was kind enough to give me a complete work from until I, complete my studying and until I attempt my exam.
mm-hmm.
So I was able to work from home and then study.
Good.
uh, the point about like the entire scheduling part was from so it went month wise
Okay.
and then it went hourly wise per day. So from let's say June to I had kept end of September as my core period of completing my syllabus
Good.
completely. The first time reading and preparing notes and everything should be done till then.
Okay.
Then from I guess from mid September I started with the revision and the quiz and the test during the daytime. So I
Okay.
used to study for like 2.5 hours at night,
Okay.
and on weekends it used to be around 8 to 9 hours.
Okay.
So from mid-September, during the daytime, I also started the revision early in the morning, and during the day, let's say I'm working and my system is being loaded, or there is some minor break, so 15 minutes of quiz or a test I would take.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I used to do that. And in terms of post of like from October, like the first week till my exam, I was completely studying. Like I was completely sorry, I was taking a test. I was completely taking all the quizzes, short quizzes, test, and the main mock exams that used to be there, even
Right.
during weekdays.
Right.
Otherwise, in September it was only on a weekend. Like on a good weekend, I had taken two complete mock exams
Right.
with evaluation. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
became
good.
a little hectic, but
No,
yeah,
but that is required. So,
yeah,
just to summarize, I think you prepared a schedule, and on weekdays, since you were having a full day job, you still spared or you kept around 2 to 2.5 hours of daily study, and then you stretch yourself on the weekend up to 8 hours. Is that correct?
yeah, eight
Right.
to nine.
8 to 9 hours, and then right from say June, July till the end of September, you continued that particular schedule. And from October first week, then you started taking up tests. You started doing revisions and full length test. So that was the schedule that you had prepared for yourself.
Yeah, like September was a merging period
Right.
when my studies became lower and my test started.
It started more. So
Yeah,
so how what material did you actually refer for studying?
material wise, it was the main was the GARP material that's provided, the book that is very important, and
Right.
that's the only syllabus you're supposed to focus on.
Right.
Along with that, I used to follow the blogs that you had. So I think according to me at least, I came a little late in the group, but since then I started I reading all the blogs. So particularly the ones which were very new concept to me, which were not covered in the book as well, some,
Right.
and some for which I was not able to understand the topic.
Right.
Let's say CVAR or
Right.
basic plus. I was I'm still a little confused for basic plus, but I went through a lot of Google sites. I went through the book. Then
Hmm.
I went through your blog. I was able to understand some part of it, at least
Right.
functionable, like if I can
Right.
attempt a question part of it.
Right.
That was my studying part. And for revision, my notes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I prepared like these very concise notes,
Hmm.
which on reading and rereading till the very end, I could complete my entire syllabus in 2.5 hours the day before
Perfect.
exam.
So
But
that's
that started with like completing one chapter in 2 hours.
nice.
And then, yeah. And
So yeah, yeah, go
for
ahead.
my test and all.
Hmm.
So for my test, I used to um the one was the quizzes that you were sending us, through the
Yeah.
group and all. So
Yeah.
that was just like a tea time scroll, and I used to literally attempt those.
Right.
And the other was the GARP has provided us with some tests and few exams, those,
Hmm.
and I taken a like this exam course from a coaching institute,
Right.
FRM coaching institute.
Right.
So I had attempted almost all of those, the
Okay.
main exams and tests.
Right. So coming to the revisions pass, and then I'll come to these practice exam. So revision wise, I think how many times did you revise the entire book while preparing for this exam? The e-book I'm talking about. So you mentioned you took notes and you did revisions. So how many times did you revise before the exam? Right.
Uh, so the first time studying took a lot of time, mainly
Right.
because I used to also take notes and all.
Correct.
So figuring that out took a lot of time. But from the time I started revising, I would try to at least complete one chapter per day in the
Oh, nice.
beginning.
Okay.
So early morning, I would take chapter one,
Mm-hmm.
and I would try and complete the entire chapter. I tried in half an hour, but it was just not possible. So 2.5 hours it used to work like that.
Right.
So my revision went next day. So let's say in
Right.
3 days I completed 1 or 2 chapters,
Mm-hmm.
and I would keep on taking those tests.
Right.
And but for my main revision, I used to just reread my notes only.
Right.
And as I said, it came to a point where one chapter I can complete in, let's say, the smallest in 10 minutes to the biggest in half an hour, and
Interesting.
I can be done with it. Yeah, and
Right.
if you can ask me a question, it would click, because it would click me in two ways. One is
Right.
the page number where it's in the book, or the
Mm-hmm.
page number where it's in my notes.
Right. That is
Okay.
interesting because I think that gives you a detail of the kind of revision that you had
Yeah, because the
planned and you
notes
would
were
actually.
also mostly, not mostly, but many a times the notes were pictorial that I had taken.
Uh,
Purposely to remember it, like purposely to remember the images and all.
That is very interesting because a lot of aspirants, when I'm connecting them on our community, LinkedIn community, I usually advise them because see, everybody has a different way of taking notes, right? Some like to scribble, some like to doodle, some kind of
Yeah,
picture, table, whatever. So I tell them, see, if possible, try to create a diagram of your own, create a table of your own, so that pictorially, if you try to take notes, you tend to remember that for a very long time, and
so
are
yeah,
able to recall it. So maybe I think to all the people who are listening to this podcast, Riddhi, if you can also give a little tips on the kind of notes that you made. You touched upon pictorial, using a lot of pictures. So how would uh, and what kind of notes that you would advise the aspirants to keep or make a note of, so that it helps them in quicker revision or remembering the content for a very long time, because there's a lot of content to be absorbed.
yeah, there is. But the easiest is I can think of is flowcharts and tables,
Okay.
right? So you can make a flowchart, or let's say you can make a flowchart, and then there are main topics, then there are subtopics and all of that, and then you have to write descriptions. So
Right.
for description, I used to only cover like in 1 or 2 sentences. So
Right.
sometimes it used to be that I used to cover only the keywords, and then around those keywords, I used to write my own explanation, like my own
Right.
understanding.
Right.
But the keywords are important in those descriptions. And
Okay.
for tabular format, it is similar, but tabular format would be more in terms of correlation as well.
Correct.
If two are, if two are of same topic, and if there's
Correct.
description or something like that. And for, when they explain climate change and the carbon cycle and everything in the first chapter, so for that, in my MBA, there was this diagram, and
Mm-hmm.
I followed that diagram. You have the particular diagram of the Earth and the sun, and then the carbon cycle. You know
Right.
how much of
Heat is
what of
reflected.
energy is being interchanged in everything.
Right. Right. So that's very important. But so creating, like as you're saying, as per your experience, creating pictorial notes uh, or using pictures or tables will really help
Yeah,
in not only making the notes but able to recall it for a very long time. So that's a very important point, because it is also as to how you make notes so that you can make your revisions more faster, quicker, and more effective, so that you are able to recall the name. While when we were just one point that struck, Riddhi, in the course there are a lot of acronyms. There's a lot of name of the those communities, those groups. Um, how did you tackle those acronyms, those principles, those name of the communities? Um, did you have any tricks to remember those, or how did you tackle those acronyms? And
I tried. They're actually really difficult to remember. I tried. What I did was, again, kept like one particular word that particularly like denoted that acronym.
mm,
So let's say there was this group of asset or group of management, then there was for banking and insurance.
right,
So I didn't remember the number of members or
correct,
anything,
correct,
but
correct,
whatever, and the functioning was almost similar for all of them. But
right,
then there is one particular word that denotes the banking group, the insurance group. So
Right.
they are a group so and so for banking only, So I
Right.
used to try to remember that way. And
Right.
if for IPCC or there was this IBEPS and all,
Hmm.
those are new to me. IBEPS and all is new. IPCC is understandable.
Right.
I actually Googled and I read through it what it was.
Okay. And there are a lot of extra readings that GRP
Yeah.
suggests. Uh, did you go through those extra readings, or did you focus on the book? Uh, what was your strategy as part of the preparation?
I went through the list that was there. It's actually very vast.
Correct.
I don't know. I really I tried reading it, but
Right.
I didn't have time. I didn't have
Correct.
time enough to complete my own portion. So
Correct.
in extra reading, I used to do was only the topics that I found important that might
Correct.
come in the exam. That was out of the syllabus.
Right.
I used to read the concept of those topics,
Right.
not really the material that was given. Although if time permits, that is also important. But again,
Correct.
that is pick and choose which one is not understandable.
True, true. So I think so your main focus was on the book, the
The
content of the
book,
book,
yeah.
and to absorb as much as possible the concepts which are mentioned, and make a good notes, of course, so that you are able to recall and revise it effectively. Coming to the practice, Riddhi, so what kind of materials did you refer to? I think for practicing,
Um, for practicing, one is again, GARP provides few tests,
correct?
and then the main mock exam that's there.
Right,
Then there were the quizzes that you have put. I'll repeat it. It was
right.
really helpful for me.
Thank you, thank you.
And with every revision, like I have come, let's say it's mid-September,
Mm-hmm.
I'm studying, but chapter
Right,
1, 2, and 3 are over. So
right,
I can revise and I can get on with the test.
right, right.
So by the time then other chapters are also over, I'll revise and I'll get on with the test. And then
Okay,
I'll start sometime on a weekend. Even though my syllabus is not over, I'll
right.
try and attempt the mock exam. Since I have
I
so
see.
many, and
Correct,
since the exam is case based, so
correct.
attempting mock test and in general test is very important because you have to polish yourself for case solving.
Right, right. Indeed.
So since I had a lot, I could spare a few just for checking the whether or not I'm able to complete within time, whether or not I am able to keep my strategies of exam. That is not to get stuck on one question.
Correct.
Not to take it on my ego to solve it
Yeah,
only.
yeah, that's very important.
Yeah,
So I think we'll come to more on the exam strategy in a while,
yeah.
Riddhi. During the preparation, currently we have only 8 chapters. Were there any chapters that you found to be, difficult, or you're not able to apply yourself, and you're finding it really a struggle to complete that chapter? Were there any chapters like that that you recall, Riddhi?
No, not chapters, but concepts. Yeah.
Okay.
So individual concepts were really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is I would read the book. So the book has explanation A.
Yeah.
Then let's say I'll Google it. It has
Right.
explanation B. Then
Okay.
if you have blog or if someone else has explained to me or through some discussion, then that person will have
Right.
explanation C. So
Okay.
all these three explanations cover the same topic,
Mm-hmm.
but in different ways. So if there is some understanding gap, that would
Right.
be covered as well,
Okay.
or at least it would enhance my knowledge in
Yeah.
terms of understanding the topic.
Okay, so I think that's where, because if the concept were not very clear to you, you would basically, read the book, speak to people, or maybe Google the information, try to read
Yeah.
and make sense of it. So that's how you overcome that. Okay, that's good. So another question, you know, regarding this was, since you were in a full-time job, there are few days which are heavy, right? So you
Yeah.
either don't feel like studying, or you're too tired. Were there any situations during your job that you've had to struggle with finding time for the preparation, or you had to take a little longer break between yeah, while preparing for the exam? And if there were, how do you suggest that you can compensate for that? And this is especially for people who, most of the aspirants are working in the full-time job. So how do you suggest they should tackle these kind of challenges that they would find?
So, one thing that I did, let's say I am not getting time,
Right.
I would break the, so I would break my hours
Mm-hmm.
during the day. If I
Okay.
know that maybe I'm not going to get time in the evening,
Okay.
so I would study a little in the morning or in between with
Right.
my, that was because it's desperate, you have to complete. The point is consistency should be there.
Correct.
So I did that.
Right.
And if let's say you don't know that, you know, that you have to extend your hours, if you're
Mm.
unaware about that,
Right.
then I would suggest maybe extending on weekends.
Okay. Okay.
Because, yeah, the
So
time is that amount. You cannot really extend it.
right. So what you're saying is, if you're not able to spare, or you feel that you're not able to spare a lot of time during the um, weekdays, then you would basically compensate that during, or you'll try to compensate it over the weekend, so that you are able to cover it, and also ensure that there's no long break between your preparation for the exam.
Yeah,
Right.
because let's say sleep. People try to compensate their their studying hours during sleeping hours. I would not suggest that. Sleep
Mm-hmm.
was like one of the most important thing for me.
Indeed, indeed, that's very important, and people should remember that they should have catch up enough sleep and take care of your health while they're preparing. So it's a very important point,
Yeah.
Riddhi. Good. So, Riddhi, thanks for sharing all the important pointers so far. So let me come specifically around the exam. While you were preparing and you were working so hard while preparing for the exam, did you have any exam strategies that you prepared for tackling, different questions, or maybe, how much time you want to give per question? Did you prepare any exam strategies?
So yeah, I did. So this was again the same strategy that I've had since my previous other entrance exam, like MD entrance and all of those. So the first one would be that since in my mock exams I was able to complete them in 2.5 hours,
Okay.
and I had to make sure that again, if I get stuck within a certain amount, like let's say in 2 minutes, if a
Right.
question, if the institute gives you 3 minutes for a question, you can if you cannot solve it in let's say 2 minutes, you move on.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
my one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that was one thing, and then let's say I think the first five question, or like when I reached question five, and I was solving it, at that point I realized I'm taking too much time to
Okay.
complete,
Right.
and at I think the 40-minute mark, I just decided now I have to scan the questions and then I have to move forward if I cannot solve them up
Right.
first. If they're directly not solvable, I'll just move forward. And then,
Okay.
so it becomes basically the easiest, then medium level, and then the most difficult. So I
Right.
made those strands and all.
Mm-hmm.
And since this was a no negative mark
Yeah.
exam,
Right.
one of the main strategy was that to keep 10 minutes at the end in
Mm-hmm.
spare to mark all the unattempted questions.
Right. And then
So,
you'll just
yeah,
mark them, taking the best guess, and then you'll just mark
yeah,
those and
right.
ensure that none of the questions are left unanswered.
Unanswered, exactly.
Good.
So I did that, and the scanning actually helped a lot because since then
Mm-hmm.
I my pace increased, and I
Okay.
could come back and I could solve a few later on, and
Mm.
then at the end I did the 10-minute thing. So
Okay.
here I was. here I completed my paper in exact 3 hours, and I think that was because of the first 40 minutes
Okay.
that yeah.
So I think just to summarize, so you basically realized after completing 5 questions that you taking a little more time than you would
Yeah,
have thought, and then you decide to scan the remaining questions and see if how quickly you can answer those ones. So that helped you increase the pace, and then you kept the last 10 minutes for answering and taking the best guess for those questions which were left
unattempted ones.
unattempted questions. Good. So you took a full 3 hours to complete
Completed.
the entire exam. So, Riddhi, when you completed and when you came out of the exam hall, how confident were you feeling that you will ace the exam or you'll pass the exam at least?
I actually the first 40 minutes that I glitched up uh cost me a little bit of confidence at the end. And that's what made it, a little uncertain whether I'll clear or not.
Mm,
So that was
mm,
there till my result day.
right, right, right. And it took around 2, 3 weeks or for the results to be declared in your case?
I think a month.
Yeah. So I think all right. So I think, I think at least the good thing is that you passed the exam, and I think, how were your scores? If you can share, chapter wise, do you recall? How did you fare?
No, not really.
And at least were those the scores that you got were as per your expectation that you were expecting for each chapter, that this is how well I've prepared this chapter, so I should be getting, or I scored at least what I was expecting, and what was the level of preparation for those chapters?
Yeah, yeah. Like that was there. I didn't remember the numbers exactly. I remember
Right.
my feelings at least. Yeah, I cleared them.
Good. Well, that's good. We are just nearing the end of this podcast. Just maybe two more questions, Riddhi. So, um, whatever the objectives that you had set out for yourself, in the terms that you were expecting certain things to happen, certain objectives to be achieved after taking up this exam. Uh, do you think this certification helped you at your work, or it has added value to the work that you were already doing? How did the certification really help you, Riddhi? And what are the advantages, or what were the benefits that you see after taking up this certification?
The first was a career boost, that is just to expand my opportunities,
Right.
and that it has helped. So
Mm-hmm.
mainly in banking and insurance, this certification will help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the second would be in terms of my personal knowledge.
Right.
So
Okay.
I am also working on a personal project.
Right.
So it will help in that. Before taking up this course, I didn't like after I took the course and after I came across all of these topics and concepts, I decided to even put some of these topics or like concepts into my personal project.
Okay. So, what is that personal project, Riddhi?
I'm trying to make a product like a
Okay.
game kind. Yeah.
Okay. And that is to around sustainability, you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. All right. So that some really brought in some tangible benefits for you, as
Yeah.
far as helping you in your regular work, and also any additional work that you're trying to do around sustainability, which is really good. All right. Just to end, and just to summarize everything, Riddhi, any 5 tips that you would give to the aspirants or to the people who are preparing for this exam? What are going to be those 5 key tips that can help them?
5 tips. Okay. So the first would be your GARP material is your Bible, the book that they give,
Okay.
right? That is to be followed to the T. Then outside syllabus can be treated as outside syllabus.
Right.
The second is, since it's a case-based exam, practicing mock tests is very important.
Right.
So right now, because the exam, like the course itself is in a very nascent stage, not many exams are there. Like not
Right.
many previous papers are also not freely available. I would
Right.
suggest for again examination courses to be taken just for this. The third would be, I would say, consistency, since a lot of students, aspirants are office goers. Uh, Consistency is very important because you never
Right.
know, the other part is not in your hand. The office hours or office is
Correct.
not really in your hand. This is only in your hand.
Right.
So that is there. The fourth would be, I would say, notes. Like
Hmm.
preparing notes is very important. This is something I've always been doing and has
Right.
always helped me.
Right.
And the fifth would be, yeah, it's a no negative exam. So definitely, whether you know or you don't know, just attempt the
Attempt the
questions.
exams
Yeah,
and take the best guess and then attempt the questions so that at
yeah,
least you.
exactly.
The idea there is not to leave anything unattempted.
Unattempted, yeah.
Good. All right. So that I think all these pointers, Riddhi, have been really valuable. I'm sure a lot of people will be able to incorporate that as part of their preparation, and hopefully, I mean, we both, or both of us, will hope that they can make use of it, and then they are able to pass their examination successfully. So with that particular note, Riddhi, again, thank you so much. I know you're busy, but really thankful to you to be sparing time for this episode and sharing all that experience. I think every tip that you have given in this podcast, I'm sure it will really help a lot. So I would like to thank you for your time again, and speak to you later then.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Most welcome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.